You are listening to The World As I See It podcast. 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 As I See It podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The World As I See It podcast. So today, I want to answer a question that has been on my mind lately. And that question is, what do I wish people knew about me that has nothing to do with my blindness?
What I really want people to notice about me instead of my blindness is my personality, my sense of humor, and who I really am as a person.
So if you've listened to the past 2 episodes, the episode about people treating me differently and the one about, being a constant advocate and how sometimes that can be tiring, then I feel like this just flows. Because, if me talking about being treated differently and me talking about being an encyclopedia for blindness 24/7, those conversations in those episodes, they left me thinking, if I'm feeling, that, then what is it that I really want you to notice that has nothing to do with my blindness? And I'm going to say this, and I've said it in the past 2 episodes. See the person, not the blindness. I want you to see my personality. I want you to see my smile. I want you to hear my jokes. Because I make blind jokes. And if you have been around me for a long time, you know that I love making my blind jokes. And the reason why I made those blind jokes about me not being able to see is because I use those jokes and they're a part of my personality, because they show you that this life isn't boring and that I am comfortable with who I am. And I'm not going to be offended if you make a blind joke or ask a question. It's my way of breaking the ice. Because if I can laugh at a moment that happened, because there are days I have moments, it gives you permission to just relax. And I have noticed that if you don't know me or you don't know me that well, you may feel a little awkward at first. I may make a joke and you may think to yourself, should I laugh? But, me making those blind jokes, it's me. It's just me. That is my personality coming through. But with that being said, there is a real balance here. Because as much as I am an open book, there is a time and a place. What I mean by that is, when you meet someone new, you don't just usually start by asking them deep personal questions. But, you start with, how's your day? But for me, it feels like I often have to give a full presentation on how I do things before I even get to say my name. And don't get me wrong, don't hear what I'm not saying. I love educating people. I really do. I love advocating. But I don't want my disability to be the only entry I have to enter a conversation. I want to talk about the movie that I just watched, or the music that I'm into. I want to be a friend first, and a source of information second. You can ask me all the questions you want, but please let me introduce myself and you get to know me a little bit and my personality. And here's how I know when people don't really know what to do. Have you ever walked into a room and you feel that entire atmosphere just shift? For me, it happens, at certain places, and the room doesn't go quiet. It almost feels like people are watching me. Now, I know when you're watching me, it's a sense that I get, and I know when the atmosphere changes because of the sense I get. Like, I've noticed that there have been times where people will watch me use my technology, which, great, go for it. I'm glad that you're interested, and I would be happy to explain it. And that doesn't make me as nervous. But when I walk into a new space and people don't really know what to do, so they're just watching me, that makes me nervous. Because when I walk in, instead of a, hey, how are you? I get a room full of people, they don't know where to look or they don't really know what to say. Or even worse, they don't look at me. They start talking to my family member about me as if I'm not standing right there with a voice and a personality of my own. It's like I've become invisible because people they're so focused on my cane. Like I've talked about in episode 15, and I'm going to bring it up again. If you don't know me, or you know that I know you, but you're scared that I may not know you whenever you walk up to me and start talking, just introduce yourself. Just walk up, and here, I'll give you an example. You don't have to make it awkward. Just walk up to me and be like, hey, it's Charles. How are you today? It's that simple. When you skip that introduction and go straight to the questions of how do you do this, how do you do that, how do you use your phone, how do you cook, you miss the chance to actually meet me and know my personality. And I really want to talk about this guessing game for a minute. Because people like to play. And honestly, this happens at Walmart. And it doesn't happen all the time, but usually it happens at Walmart. And this is where I feel the most awkward. So sometimes someone will walk up to me and they'll say, guess who? And my brain, it goes blank. Whatever thoughts I had, whatever I was thinking, gone. When someone says, guess who, or do you know who this is, I feel pressure, like I have to get it right, and I feel awkward. And here's what goes through my head. I'm thinking, I don't know who this person is. Maybe it's this person. No, wait. That voice sounds deeper. What if I get it wrong? I feel like if I get it wrong, they're gonna be offended, so I don't remember them. And then there's the one part of me that goes, but generally I don't care because they're the one who's making it awkward and they just need to tell me who they are. And so I'm also thinking, this is awkward. I wish they'd stop staring at me and just tell me who they are. That is literally what goes through my head. I don't have enough information to go off of. And they're just standing there. And I'm just wishing that they tell me who they are because I haven't seen them in 5 years. And they expect me to know who you are. Yeah. That's not gonna work. Good luck. It's almost like my brain is trying to sort hundreds of voice memories while trying to stay polite, and it's exhausting. It's like trying to find a specific file on a computer that has thousands of folders with no labels. And then they finally introduce themselves, and it's a huge relief, but it's also just awkward because my head is full of thoughts like, why didn't you just tell me? We could have spent those last 30 seconds actually talking and have a conversation instead of you playing this guessing game that I'm destined to lose, and both of us are just standing here awkwardly while you're staring at me, trying to see if I'll remember who you are because I haven't seen you in 5 years. It's almost like, so, my sighted friends, my sighted listeners, think of it like this. So, you know, when you're in a store and you haven't seen this person in a few months or a year or whatever, and this person walks up to you and goes, "Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in forever." And you're looking at this person and you think to yourself, this person looks familiar, but I don't know what their name is. I've seen this person. Why can't I think of their name? Their face looks familiar. That is exactly how I feel. Except for the fact that y'all have facial expressions to look at. I only go off of a voice. So, like, y'all see different faces every day, and when you haven't seen this person in 5 years, you don't know who they are, or it takes you a little bit. It takes me a little bit too. I can't just immediately go, "Oh, this is so-and-so." It's just like you and you looking at someone, and it takes a minute for you to recognize this person, just like it does me. So my question is, why do you play the guessing game with me? Because I can't see you. Whenever you walk to somebody who has sight, who may not recognize you. Think about that for a second. Why do you think it's okay to do that to somebody who is completely blind? Because it's basically the same thing. You see a face that you've not recognized and it takes you a second. I hear a voice. It's pretty much the same way, except I don't have sight. So, my point with all that is, please don't make it a game. If you feel like I may not know you, or I've heard your voice before but I haven't seen you in a while, just say your name. It's always better to just say your name and be direct, because it shows respect for my time and my energy. And it doesn't make it awkward for both of us. And I will say that if I've known you forever and I see you, a lot of the times you don't have to introduce yourself if I've heard your voice long enough and I see you once a week. But sometimes if you may feel that I may not know you, go ahead and introduce yourself. It's okay to introduce yourself even if I know you. And sometimes I even like it when you introduce yourself if I only see you once a week. Like, if I see somebody at church, a lot of the times if I've heard their voice long enough, they usually don't have to introduce themselves, but sometimes if it's loud or whatever, then yes, please don't hesitate to introduce yourself, because it makes it less awkward. And I want people to realize that I'm an incredibly outgoing person. I love being in the loop. I love knowing what's going on, and I love being a part of the group. Don't just not include me in the conversation because I can't see. And when people freeze up or get too focused on the accommodation side or the things that I need or my cane or whatever it may be of my life, they miss out on who I actually am. They miss the fact that I am probably, I'm a talkative person. I'm very energetic. And if you just give me a chance, they miss my perspective or my opinions on things that have nothing to do with my eyesight and my blindness. My blindness is how I navigate the world, but my personality is how I connect with the world. I want to be the person who is known for being outgoing and funny. and a kind friend, and who just happens to be blind, not the blind girl who people are afraid to approach. I want you to ask me about my day or what music I'm listening to. So, I'm saying it again. Try just leading with a hello. Treat me like you would treat anyone else you're meeting for the first time. I promise you the conversation will go a lot smoother and it will not be awkward. And don't try to play the guessing game with me, because that will be awkward for the both of us. If we start with a how are you, and I want to learn more about you and what you like instead of how do you do this and how do you see, it will go so much smoother. I love to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, ideas, or just feedback that you want me to know on how we can make the show better, you can send me an email or comment down below. My email is theworldasIseeitpodcast@gmail.com. I read every single message. But I can't leave you guys on such a serious note. Since I want you to notice my personality, here's what I'd like to call a blind joke for you to end this episode on a good note. So one time, someone asked me if I had seen this show on Netflix. And I was like, yeah, I've been staring at the TV for 3 hours. I think that my TV or my Netflix is broken. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Remember, see the person, not the blindness. See the smile, not the disability. Stay curious, keep listening, and I will talk to you in episode 38.
You've been listening to The World as I See It podcast.